really the reasons why we exist and the reasons why we're in the positions that we're in as a city. We're here to make sure that the citizens and those other groups mentioned in this question are heard, first and foremost, and after being heard, that they're understood and that they're given the opportunity to participate in this process, because without them, there's no need for a governing body or an administration in the city. How I typically handle this, I meet with, at the time it was in South Bay, we didn't have a chamber, but I was actively involved in the Belgrade Chamber, because businesses in South Bay belonged to the Belgrade Chamber at the time. So from a business standpoint, I meet with the chamber, with the local business groups. I, if not join their boards, I become very, very active in their boards, so I can get a better understanding of the direction. I report that back to the commission. I receive recommendations, suggestions, advice on how the commission would like to further engage or further retract from what's going on. So in that way, there's a relationship that's cross-sectional, and you don't have to depend on rumor or innuendo about what's going on from a business standpoint in the city. So I think that's key, and that's to be one of the heartbeats of developing different and additional revenue streams in the city. I meet with local citizens. I've referenced that a couple of times ago, but I meet with local citizens on an ongoing basis, because a lot of times they're not going to come to city commission meetings. They're not going to come to meetings that's held at the park. It's human dynamics a lot of times don't come. So I think it's important that they don't come, when they don't come, that we get that information to them. We're in a technological age where we post everything online, or we're tweeting things, and that's good. But a lot of times that takes away from a humanistic approach that I think is needed, especially when you consider the senior elder community that may or may not tweet every other day, or may not check their emails, or may not even have a computer at home. So I really engaged the senior community when I was in South Bay, and I continue to do that as a regular citizen there, because I really believe that they have a lot of the history. They've lived in the city for a long time. There's a lot you can learn from it and share and develop from that. So I engage those communities quite heavily. I also think citizen groups are very, very important as well. A lot of ideas and a lot of opportunities for growth and involvement, again, can come from meeting with those groups. And I've done it throughout my career with the City of South Bay. I did it every year, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, as a director of the South Florida Management District, where I actively went to commission meetings and community meetings and special interest meetings to talk about water control. I was a person that was appointed to Broward County Emergency Management with hurricane and inclement weather times. I literally stayed in those communities to make sure that the communities didn't flood. So I have a wide array of different opportunities and different experiences in that area. So I will continue to do that. That's who I am. I'm a people's person. I believe that engaging people and providing resources and direction is something that's helpful.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are your thoughts? Performance evaluation. What process do you follow? Objectives, performance.
First and foremost, performance evaluation is necessary. It gives a comprehensive look, a good evaluation tool, a comprehensive look at the evaluator, what's expected process. The process I use is objectives and monitor performance. It's what I heard of this. It's a SMART process. It's where we're going to be very, very specific what we're evaluating. We have measurement tools. We're going to look at the effectability or attainment, making sure that those things are carried. It's going to have some relevance looking for to the job. What I do, I meet with department heads. This has been my experiences over. I meet with the department heads just in the senior and I evaluate them initially, and then I ask that the employees are evaluated. Two that we collectively are working alongside with the language a lot more than I am. They would give me recommendations, evaluation tools for those. And once those are set, we monitor those and we on the current policy as evaluation plans, the measurement upon that, and we do that accordingly.
All right. From your viewpoint, what do you believe the challenges and opportunities facing our city? How is it to change in the future?
Mention one is speak to that and raise a couple others. But look at the opportunities as a result of that, because I really believe it's often even out the challenges and the results. But oftentimes we don't put recommendations, suggestions, and opportunities. Economic development, one of the challenges, and it's nothing that you the Blaze community, and believe it or not, it's nothing that you in small rural communities. But I really the Glades, Hokie included, have had challenges because of the lack of indication of its employment. And that's a challenge within itself. I understand that. But I also wrote that there are opportunities that have not been targeted in terms of make changes and make things. We have opportunities that are pretty much in terms of the city's land, your own land. We're really a lot of opportunities in that way to look at development initiatives. But I mentioned the one. I haven't looked at it from the state lands situation, but I do know the Glades area, state-owned land that could possibly be leased or purchased over a period if made available. Economic development can be there. We have a lot of examples in that. Community and a lot of the land that's in agriculture now, but it's not owned by the companies. A tremendous amount of those land leased from the state. So just taking an approach to not doing things the way that we've always given us opportunity that we have not taken advantage of. From point, I think there's an opportunity to do, and that will help along the lines. We often talk about that we have with our residents that may have made qualify for certain jobs, especially those jobs that come as a result of the company coming. The way structured now, since federal government money or Davis-Bacon money for there's qualifications that you have to meet, and oftentimes when we look at some of the that a lot of our residents, when they were a lot younger, filling your records for what all the records for qualifying for those type jobs. And we have to be at the front end of the process when the margin of interest is coming to us, and we hammer out those things that may or may not actually be available as a state money, but we do millions of understanding, for lack of that, that if you're going jobs available, or jobs available, we have to have a real opportunity having these jobs. I'm not saying that you can, but let's work to see how maximizing this for our locals. I'm not suggesting that is not but my experience in South Bay, my experiences with the board, seeing a lot that came to the area, not been something that worked at hard long enough to make a difference. Differences now, what happened with Palm Beach County last month. There's a lot of opportunity to do a lot more. One of the federal government programs that's a part of the overall development block grant program. You may be familiar with a lot of the communities in Palm Beach. A lot of the companies in Palm Beach uses it. It's the Section 108 loan program, and that's under the county, but it's a federally mandated program. It comes from the county to, from the government to the state government. These loans are available for community and for cities. And traditionally, Palm Beach is not all are making it such a major part of it to municipalities. Probably those dollars are wedged all of the community block grant monies that come. Ideally, if the city applies for a Section 108 and they receive that loan, you have to pledge your future community development block grants dollars to that as that you will be paying those loans back. Not necessarily something that reason I'm saying that because on average, the Glades over the last years, on average, and some different do special round fund communities on a rotating basis, things like that. But on average, the Glades communities receive $250,000 to $300,000 a year for their city allocation. Most of the infrastructure, the housing, all of the funding categories on development block grant, if done right, it's $1 million project. So what ends up happening? You receive phase over a 10-year period, one program or one project. Section 1 loan program will allow you to borrow that amount of money for 1 year to complete the program and pay it back in your period versus doing it on the side. So what that does, that completes programs, helps strengthen our infrastructure, that puts the city to grow now in a real, as opposed to having to complete a program extended period of time. I have knowledge of the program. I've made recommendations from other interests of these programs. But what I will tell you is the cities and the Glades are not using it. Companies in the county are using it. The cities in Palm Beach County. So again, just don't take what you get down because of the opinion that once you have the information, you have the knowledge, you have relationships, you make things happen. I envision myself and each of you with a packet to county, with a packet that goes to the government, with all the information that you have. Say, hey, one program. We've always had this program. It's pennies what we can do here. So Section 1, we'll let one program for next year. Before we go out CDBG, knowing that we'll complete a program in a year, over a 10-year period, you'll have that you need from an infrastructure standpoint. vision for how a city that you've envisioned, a city that vision for your elderly, a city that you for everyone that resides in the area. Those are some of the kind of I bring to the table, and I bring my expertise to it. And I work to make sure that it's done.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. And as you add another that CDBG.
Yeah, further dilute your.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
What particular experiences have with respect to consideration and finance? Give specific examples of you address caution in your most positions.
Question.
Number 12.
I've a tremendous amount of experience in budget prep and finance. Some of the strategies that I've had in previous, but I primarily recommend if you don't foresee using funds in a budget fiscal year, not to promote a budget in a high wage and not based on past performance. And your budget as a department head in this situation would have to stand very, very scrutinized answering question process or can be even recommended mission. One of the things, and I prepared budgets as manager in South Bay, which is the multi-million budget. Prepared budget director for the South Water Management District. The district budget at the time was in excess of $1 with part in Broward County at the time 200 million plus. So I have experience in I work directly with finance and team approaches to budgets and evaluating this. And specific examples of address reduction is that if you just presenting a budget become very hard to approve it. And budget is developed. I'm going to easily budget adjustments, moving monies around different budget areas unless it's something that's very, very needed. And come across as being kind of hard, but I think we have something hard. I look at as the commission being stewards of the money that in taxes and from other situations that you receive, revenue sharing streams. I really believe that if you're making sure and giving that you're not wasting or jeopardizing the city fund, then that makes things a lot easier involved. I recommend having a review of the budget on a monthly basis, and that review is just a review that peels back each budget item, the amount of requests that came in from each department, look at the rationale it, and then make adjustments and improvements in that area. I'll tell you, you notice that on your website that you have 2 analyst positions in the finance department. I will encourage the city to make that each department is completely fit and functioning. It's been approved, because what happens if you don't have the people, if you don't have the training, it becomes a burden that are working in and know that you slow, burn out, and put a situation where provide providing the best to the resident, to the commission as a whole. So that's one of the things that I've always recommended. Position is available, and the funding is in place to make sure that it's fit. What I've realized is that a tremendous work is being asked to be on very, very shoestring staff, and that was the same thing in town. We had very few working, but a tremendous work that had to be done. It's only fair to those working to have a full base versus a skeleton. And that's always promoted. And when you have that, you minimize some of the other that happen as a result of not having it. So we're strong.
Okay. How do you view the relationship between the mayor and the city committee? How do you view the relationship with department head and local government staff?
Our relationship with Nation first and foremost, as I have to make sure that I'm carrying out the due responsibility that you empower me to do. I understand a relationship that I work for you, for lack of a better term, and I need to make sure that I'm doing exactly that you asked me to do, and I will add that I would those things be concise and as humble as possible. That makes any confusion, gives me strict marks on what my duties are over and above what's listed on the position. I want the expectations of the committee. I want to be able to work with you. I clearly am Florida State sunshine. Also, I fully understand anything that's not permitted in a relationship would not put you in a position to do otherwise. And finding me to be someone that's going to work hard, someone that's going to research information, someone that's going to have the best answers for you. So it would be have the same from you. And if we had that relationship, I think we'll go a long way in developing what we need to do as a city. Now, we're not going to always on everything. No, we're not going to always agree on everything. That's good. Because I get different point of views, different recommendations, different suggestions that may not come from to my way of, or manager. I want to be able to help build myself as well as a manager. So I accept differences of opinion, accept criticism. Relate with department heads. I look at the relation I have with you in terms of my expectations. Responsibilities. I look at with department heads in terms of expectations as a manager. I encourage confidence. I encourage developing camaraderie. Again, because of those things, a lot of the others become dormant. And government staff are, I'm not just saying this, I really believe I've been able to explain that should be of the organization. And if reaching the local staff and giving them what they need, listening to their needs from the local staff up. And I think we're always because they're the one actually where the road. They're out and they're working along our street. seeing the kids on the way to school. They're taking debris off, they're helping the community. And those exchanges allow for people to talk and conversate about their like or dislike about the city, or is that can be made to the city. So if I had to root for one line of employee over the other, not that I will, but it really goes out to those that are on.
What will your step be upon assuming responsibility for this position? And what do you hope is in your first year?
We talked quite a bit about a lot of the questions are geared in that way, but I really believe if you're not fiscally sound, you're not going anywhere fast. So my first responsibility for the position with there is a current audit, I will request that is done. That gives me a clear picture of what's going on fiscally, and that gives me the opportunity to develop programs, procedures, practices that will allow me to do what has existing fiscally. I hope to accomplish here. I hope to be able to small steps. I'm not coming promising we're going to change everything around in one. Going to be from we voted the city of the year by the National League of Cities Conference. That's that. But I want to be able to small strategic steps that actually lead to that within the next 3 years. And I think it's doable. I'm very, very excited about working on the small city again, small cities, because just like small businesses, small cities it's really the foundation of and if we look throughout cities throughout the country, small cities, tremendous things. What I want to be able to do, and just through observation from just this morning, is little things that can be done. Major differences. I want to be able to concentrate on those small. I want to be able to make sure the road leads to building is fully paved. Able to go next door and strip the floor, put new tile down. I want to be able to probably polish and paint some of the areas around. I want to make sure that aesthetically that the city is one that our residents can be proud of. I want to be able to start some economic development that includes loans that I mentioned a minute ago about microloan programs. I want to be able to build relationships that are lab business community. I want to be able to visit from the elementary to the high school and see how government can play a more active role in the lives of those precious, or our most precious attributes in the city, which is the youth. Be able to not so much attract to the city, but I want to be able to get this house in order. Move forward in a way that won't allow it to move forward next year and have to take 2 steps back. So it will take some time. I'm not pretty everything that's happened here over that I have with this commission. Previous commissions, not some members of this commission. I remember working along with Raymond Porter. I remember actually before prior to 88, when this government was different. We had our form of government. I remember fondly working with our Singletary. I remember working alongside Pete Moore. I remember working with my science middle school, Mr. McIntyre. So I have relationships here, and I have good experiences here. Be able to build on those experiences. One of the most precious resources we have in local community are its people. I believe that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson.
Speaking of experience, how does your experience qualify for this position?
Not to be redundant, but my experience my experiences quite a bit, but my experiences in politics and as a administrator over the last 20 years and 23-year period that I've held have been supervisor positions, city manager, director of management district, own and operate my own small company, which constantly government, contracting, and star actions of businesses. I have a tremendous experience liaison of the Unbelievable Palm Beach County Commission for a 3-year period. That gave me a thorough understanding and appreciation I had before ownership between county and municipal bodies that I have used and appreciate and the understanding of things that I mentioned a minute ago. One Section 108 loan program, but there's a variety of areas that I had an opportunity. I work directly with department heads. So a lot of time, as residents, when we have a complaint related, we have to go to the person who can. And that usually takes some time before it's resolved, or even as the unbuzzed empowered by working for the commission to take those directly to the department head and issues will resolve in that period. So I really believe that I'm well versed in my background to suggest that.
Ask by our commissioner, anyone to that. Something, how would you handle it?
Plain and simple, I wouldn't do it. This system is based on one that I am a firm believer in Jesus. My foundation set on I operate under the commandments that's in place, provided for me. Anything that's done unethical, I would address it by that it's unethical and that my value wouldn't allow me to do something that I wouldn't do to further embarrass myself or the city.
What needs have you found to be successful in assisting government officials with assessing and implementing long and short-range goals of community?
Okay. Basically, it's commission involved in the training. It's making that the training that's available within the county, in the local institutes of government, the university within the county. Sure that we find a way to get local elected officials into that process a little bit better. It's also, I know, through the Florida League of Cities, through City County Managers Association, through the National League, and through those entities, there's a need to do ongoing training. And the most outside of Mayor Walks, Hill has been on the commission for, and I know you're very aware of the Florida League of Cities. conferences and the annual meetings are nice, but I think we miss opportunity. We're not spending time in exchange. We're not time at looking at programs that's done state and nationally standpoint going through our country that have been successful. There's obviously to enjoy the conference. I think just as much time to be concentrating on what's been proven positive and well for other communities, geographical, city of Pahokee, that from a population standpoint, like city of Pahokee, from a rural standpoint, that looks Pahokee, because there's no limitation on ideas and opportunities. So I'm of the opinion to look at every opportunity, that everything that has worked, and give it a try, see if it see if it's upward mobility to this community. So those are mainly that we are round of teams and all participate recs and develop plans. Those things are sit somewhere with inches of dug on them. Take those things. And when you involve the community in a process, follow up. Finish things, but make sure things are done and not leave it to change. And not leave it to a situation where you're going to announce a charrette or a next meeting. The majority of the residents are saying, I'm not coming because not last time. That's one of our biggest Achilles heels. Sometimes it's self-inflicted. Most of the time it's from big promises that are from people here. I've been a lot of different initiatives, and I've sound wide a bit because I cannot honestly look a resident in the face, business in the face, and tell them, make them promises that I know. I can't do that to recommend that to you, because what it does, it grows their participate. It creates philosophy of why you would try. That type of philosophy is carried down over, becomes generational and almost cultural, and it prevents us from moving. What I would recommend, again, because I've been for record, is start something, put resources and finish it. Even small, and then that small success to that, and carry it along with you. So those are the type of that I would have. Those are the types that I would recommend. Type approaches that are similar here in the country and other places. That's the type of thing that I would do that you're implementing on the short-range goals. The long and short is just that, something that can be addressed and dealt with most immediately. That leads over long-range goals. And I would make sure, and that's one thing that I always add, I will make sure that you have all that you need to inform decisions. Very much for communication. I want to make sure that you don't have any surprise. I'm not concerned about not so good. I want to share not just and most probably just as fast as I share so good news. Not so good news can lead to areas we all don't want to be part of. So maybe to always be informed by me, but not only verbally. I started when I was in the city of Pahokee. Weekly update for the commission. So any and everything that happened during the work week, we're very well aware of the written report that will allow responses from you and collectively at commission meeting.
What experiences have you working on an intergovernmental or interbasis? Have you worked directly with state and federal government, commission government, and other local government?
Yes, I have. I've had a tremendous amount of experience with working with an interagency team. I mentioned the example of getting the South Bay's facility back up and running after a major fire. Everything was pretty much foundation. Everything was pretty much destroyed, and we had to do with my leadership was to renovate that, make it compliant from a code standpoint, because it changed tremendously from the time it was built. So I worked directly with the state government. I worked with different departments within the state for funding for renovation and review. Tremendously with the county, same areas and some of the same areas, and we had to develop an approach in making sure all became a reality. The biggest things that we experienced is that an elevator was required back into the new facility. It was multi-level, and the elevator was almost half of the whole renovation cost. So initially, is there any opportunity to get a waiver? So yeah, but very few people, because you have the special needs board, that you will be able to make job opportunities for special needs candidates or people that work there. So essentially what they said is try, but we don't think it's going to. So on a 2 to waiver, to try to get away from this team in general, if I'm not mistaken, the meetings. So I had to give a how I can accommodate especially employees, which basically suggested that if there will make room for them on the first floor, and if there was any needed that way, we would accommodate doing certain things. It was a maybe 10, 12 pages. And when I first went and made a presentation, I was there like, you gotta keep doing here. We're not gonna approve this. Because that community, why should I something that we prevent me from getting employed? To make a long story short, in 7 days, the waiver was denied to pay for the elevator. So one example of how, and I know when I was coming in, I looked at across the street. That's a very beautiful. Not sure what the current plans are, but you have my full, whatever that plan is for that, we can make that a reality. And I will work to make sure that similarly to historical structure that you have here. I have experience with the historical side, state government, and also from the county level. Another interagency relationship is that during the time that was closed, we had a relationship with the county business development board, with representatives from private partners within the county, and we met on a weekly basis. That plan was developed into the governor and received that. So again, my very wide. I've worked with the state, as I mentioned a minute ago, a state agency, county, in Florida. I've worked indirectly with the government because most of the funds received from the federal government ended up in the county. But I do have experiences going to Washington, advocating for local dollars. I've done that on several distinct honor of senior people in the administration. He was the president of the Navy at the time. And we had an opportunity South Bayville in some of the federal government position, along with our representatives there. I've been lasting relationship with Congressman Hastings. Been in place for ++ years. Commission and local, yes, I have obviously government and local experiences as well.
Jackson, how do you describe your management?
I referenced that a minute ago, and it's a style it's titled consultative management style, and it takes into account the best employees and the organization. So I'm depending on this for input, innovation. I'll make a final decision, and the input is very important, because again, it only makes us stronger. I encourage department head very strong and active within them, and I depend on to do their things that carried out within them.
Thank you very much,
Sir.
If you're selected beyond to move in the process, and the city was doing an extensive background check, is there anything you're aware of?
No, ma'am. I'm not too sure what direction. Do I have anything in my background that prevent me from it? I don't know if I'm asking this question. No, not at all.
All right, thank you very much, Jackson, once again for being here. That concludes the formal part of the process. As we go through an interviewing process, questions may arise formally, so commissioners have time now to ask any informal question they have of him.
I do have one.
All right.
Since you are aware that we're a strong mayor government, if there was a lawsuit, something come up against the city, would you share it with the commission?
I would have through a executive council, executive meeting, and attorney. As soon as I would hear something of that nature, contact the city attorney if we all already aware, and we would schedule such a meeting that you're fully informed of facts.
And the reason, because it's not that the mayor, but a lot of the commission is blind to what's going on, and in order to be an actual productive commission, be kept aware of the things to know about the laws. There have been some in the past.
Yes, ma'am. Follow up. The fact structure in a way with the laws of the state of Florida. Sometimes there's limits, as you well know, when you're outside of you're also a liability standpoint. You want to be very, very careful of those things that you share that are currently evaluation or going through a legal process. The law will allow you, as I indicated, you have executive sessions that give you opportunity to such things.
You understand that?
So I think there are some limitations. I think that you have to be aware of what's going on. And there's an opportunity to do so. You have that at your disposal to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jackson. Commission, any other questions for Mr. Jackson? Since there being none, have any questions of the commission?
I think I have a couple. For a while, and unless someone tries to relate the point. I know that quite a few of your services are not under the umbrella in terms of patrol. You're on top of police and fire and water and sewer. I'm wondering, does the city have enterprise zones, enterprise funds?
Good question, city manager.
We won the cemetery.
Okay.
It's an actual enterprise.
Okay. And is that main house or?
It's managed in-house.
Okay.
And the marina is open as well.
Okay. Okay. What's the city village rate? And I'm asking that for
159.
6.5.
5419.
Does that take into consideration MSTU with?
Yes, then.
Okay. That's good. You got room.
No, we don't. Doesn't include them.
Okay.
We are really here at the max.
Okay.
But the 10, it includes.
Okay. All right. Well, there's some asking. There's some options as well that I have in mind that may give real good opportunity to decrease that. And is that rate that you're giving, or yeah, there's opportunity again that out of the box approach to financing for that and give you an opportunity. Additional revenue streams, to see in a position where it be a little flexible from a taxing standpoint. Your assessments.
Specific question, property assessments?
Yeah, what are your assessment roles in terms of?
I don't have that exact number off the head, but once you calculate it, we're looking at approximate in revenue $130,000.
Okay. Okay, and the last one would be if when next in this process, will you decision? I know you have another interview. Will the decision be made next week? And how would I be notified?
As a commission, I have to have a decision workshop, so to speak, and discuss the candidates, so we can go through our action process. But the city clerk would definitely reach out, inform you of the decision one way or the other.
Okay. And is there a timeline for that?
None has been given or established by the commission.
And I would close by thank you again very much for hearing. I hope that I've answered them in a way that Secretary and gives me an opportunity to serve as my team manager.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Jack. Just made the process very difficult. Very much.
That's good.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This time of day.
Yes, it's
I don't know that. I don't know.
I'm just thinking, you know.
Eat, I tell you. Miss Sinclair, you got some out. Oh, I forgot your you're not doing it.
Oh.
Yeah, but somebody need to take about citizens.
Oh, yeah.
This is lengthy, but
All righty. I'll just give the score and a little break. Little break, yes. Come on, let's
For about an hour. I feel like a little kid been in the seat, you know? Do this again. Can you put a camera that way and put the pictures on that screen so the kids can see his face?
Thank you.
All we get to see is the back of the head.
I don't want no butter. Ooh, Jesus.
I know, Jimmy, and she's not even sharing it. I bet.
Marshall, thank you for making it. Hey, that's called life. I love it. Yes, good candidates.
That leave on here.
Yeah.
I had a little go up there with my person golden up
I wasn't listening. He's there. He's waiting. Capola.
Score sheet.
I hope they don't on the camera.
Candy?
Ooh.
Like, another 2 hours.
Can't you understand over there? You be home then.
I didn't think we had that long.
You can hear.
Oh, man.
Finish the business, yes.
Yeah.
She don't want it. Almond joy?
Because Mr. Wilson and I that hung in here, we should get them.
Come on, get it.
He was coming.
I had to eat a piece of. I'll be glad to believe.
Boom, boom, boom. I
See, now we'll be prepared next time. Would you like one also?
No, she said no. You already ready to us.
We found out it's something. You want to? We have one. Really? Just saying. I'm sorry, we have to go wrong.
So you think your schedule is?
I had my thing 3 hours when I started 10 o'clock.
Right. No, I'm talking about originally what you was able
Well,
vacation.
yeah, just something I wasn't going anywhere.
You need to be there with it.
Well, it doesn't really matter, I got meetings. I gotta give you guys a point, I have a meeting with, I'll be,
Oh, yeah. Who you meet with, Mission or one in
I met with our whole staff was there. Andy Brown, Clifton Dawson. So it was really good. I think they were glad we were talking to them forward. We talked to her, come back with us and work with us on the grant and the marina project. A lot of stuff to the table.
Did you talk to her directly?
I talked to her. And Johnny and she get her staff working with us. We talked last night for anything hardly we talked about. We talked everything across the board. So, well, we were real glad. Managed to do that. I think we'll be able to do it. May not be me, but somebody else. The door for whoever comes on. That'll be good. Come here, run around.
Lay your finger on my butter.
This is a candidate, his name is Mr. Larry Lee Sinclair, she's the president. Martha Iverson, manager, commissioner. Mayor Walsh. Vice Mayor. Hi, how are you?
Change the facility to be. Thank you.
And Commissioner. Mayor, I also think the planning to him the process. Take it away.
All right, thanks, Mr. Capola. Thanks for being here, sir. It's definitely have you here in our, I think Ms. Bailey, that she explained the process to you. You have a committee that if you want to ask a follow-up question, so to speak, commission time to do so before we get into part of it.
Well, my question is, give you an opportunity to tell a little about yourself and just so you can.
I'm originally from, my wife is, we live west of Seattle, and pulling out there for about 30 job I had that long ago, property there. Liked it, decided to stay. We just have a point in our life where, we have an 11-year-old. We want to, our family is here, so we're looking for a place where I can get him here so he gets to know his family. So that's that. Been myself since 1999. Recently accepted Melissa Gosper from the EW company to buy the news that I own. EW Scripts own newspapers, TV stations, website, and after they bought they packaged the print media and sold it in Milwaukee. But now they have newspapers all over the country. But anyway, I wasn't really looking to have it, giving us the opportunity. But for us as a lifestyle, like I said, I got an 11-year-old, honor student, great athlete, just a little bit.
Can you hear about the position?
On the Florida League website, I started looking. I have a friend who is in the business and does a lot of Florida, and recommended it. He said that one of his clients, here's a place that knowing you that would be a good thing.
Thank you.
Mr. Capola, and welcome to the Smoky.
Thank you.
Begin with your first question, which describe experience you had in retaining this or other ones.
This is my suite. This is the mainstay of the City of Port Orchard's economic development efforts. I also serve on the Executive Committee, Chair of the Board of South County Economic Development. I've been on the board for 15 years. In my own city, I actually went out doors in other cities for businesses that I thought fit for it. Hey, you might look. Some come because at least they were ready to expand, whatever. But some couldn't. But some had way that way. We had a guy that bought a business in town, a little waterfront town. One guy owned a boat yard, owned it forever and ever, boats out and redo other repairs. And it's highly sure how environmentally restrictive Florida is in Washington, but Washington is very, very heavily restricted. Part of ecology is to stop them really do anything environmental. So this guy buys this, and the first thing he wants to do is expand. Well, the Department of Ecology and the Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Department of Natural Resources all come down on him. You can't do that, can't do that. And I went to his office regularly, and we broke through my jam, got him so they expansion, and did all this. He also a yacht building company. of Tacoma. He moved the company to Fort Worth of that because I was active about doing that. Something else, chair of the Development Alliance. The Kitsap is home to what naval-based Kitsap. Is anybody here? The Navy is the mainstay of there, and there are 5 installations that are part of Naval Base Kitsap. Puget Sound Yard, which is the largest shipyard on the west, the only nuclear capable. You know, that's where they big aircraft carriers to overhaul, refuel them. Big submarines. We're also home to submarine base. Kings Bay is the east coast. We are the west. It's called the Naval and Warfare Engineering Station. That's where they build bombs. They go in the Big Island, which is an naval depot, and then there's a fuel station man, which is like the gas station for all the ships. So all of those are always Kitsap. It employs about 11,000. So what we started looking at was how can local companies get in on, they contract out tons and tons of stuff. They buy tons and tons of stuff. But getting on their list, be an eligible vendor, one process. So what we did is we got together with somebody that's special in doing this, together a program for businesses where the owner of the business comes with a system course and they walk them through it. And we were able to, by doing that, we were able to increase our share of money they spend to 2013, which is their numbers for, by $5 million, and we created over 1,000 jobs. So it all happened on my watch. And that answers your question.
Make you the best candidate. What unique qualities do you possess that make you stand out from other applicants?
I am a very experienced manager, and this running the city. I'm a private sector business of for 30 years, and I ran the city. When I got to the city of Fort Worth, broke in reserves to meet payroll, and I put business practices in place, and within months, by making the change made, we were able to back all of the interfund loans that had been used to meet payroll, creating reserves, and we did that in the economy in our generation. I'm pretty proud of that. I feel like I am a very manager, people that work with me, what's expected of them. My email is open and friendly, but it's very direct. You know, if there's an issue, I'll sit them down and say, let's talk about this. I don't mean nothing, but to say this. You know, always well and always is what I can be. But you know, I believe people doing the work as their product would be. But they also have a lot of solutions to those problems. And this is a philosophy that's worked for me in my own and worked for me. He comes to me and says, hey Larry, we're going. My person, what do you think we should do? And a lot of times I have the answer. If you give people the tools, equipment, material, information to do a job, most people aim to not do it. But you run across that one person. But I really, if you manage that it's worked for all of these years. I read budget, I never write a budget. Study in your budget. I just feel like a strong personality. I am a manager. I have skills. I have good people skills. I have good skills. And like this is a business. This is, as the mayor, you are the CEO and directors almost a $5 million company. And municipal corporation. And you guys run. And think of it in that approach.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. What about city will you emphasize promoting economic development?
Well, I'd start with the marina. I came yesterday and looked around and spent some time here and came this morning and sang that. And you have a jewel there. A great facility. I think you need to be promoted. Tourism is terrific. Economic development. Jobs. It doesn't pay jobs, but what it does creates business. People come to town, spend money, and they leave. You have to build for them. You don't have to build for them. They come, leave their money, and they go home, and they leave a smile on their face. So I think create a good experience for people that you can people here. I think what I would do also is start looking at the business is a good fit. First thing you have to set the stage right. You've got to be sure things is in place. The permit, when business comes in, it's going to be up and under construction in about 120 days, and we got to be sure that it's easy to do business with, fast to do business with, process is certain. Those are really important things. In Port Orchard, I overhauled the entire permitting system. We became the fastest and most permitting in the region. It's pretty simple. People come in. Again, I don't understand what your environmental restrictions are, but where we are, they're horrendous. So what we would do, we would come in, we'd look at their project, city engineer and the planning director. Okay, here's what you want to do. The master checklist was you come back with this, and this, and this, and everything you need. You come back complete. We'll permit on the spot. Nobody else was, and we grew our city that way economically. Became a hub for development because of it. So it became a hub for residents because of it. And that's money. So, it increases tax and developers puts to build the infrastructure. So I would start by setting the table and then being sure that we had a place that we needed to have. And from there, economic development is relationship selling. It's selling advertising. You need to go shake hands with people. And I'm good at that. So, and I'm not afraid to. I don't believe the city manager's in the office the whole time. I believe you need to be out. You need to be out in the community. The community is a huge resource. And you can the city with it. It's not. And what we need to do is talk to them. What do you see as man that could be done by the city? How is this not allowing your business to grow as much as it could? We help. And we need to understand it. You're going to do economic development. That's the key to it. You got land zone, have permitting in place, have somebody going out knocking on doors. It's not rocket, but it's very good. You got to gotta give them a reason to come here. So, I hope that answers the question.
All righty. Welcome to our city. Use and pass, explain your philosophy of management, how review budget monitoring. How are such reports provided by managers, senior and elected officials?
Well, philosophy of budget management is buck. I just hate it. So, looking for a better way to do stuff. What I did is I looked at every line item we spent money on, and I went back 3 years from when I started. 3 years, looked at what we're spending, what we had projected, what we actually spent. You know, how do we adjust the budget going forward from there? We'll save some money. That was part of the process and part of private sector management. It's how do we get the most for our money? Looked at every contract we had and renegotiated contracts. We leased 10 copy machines. I'm looking at the leases, and they're paying for toner, for maintenance, and sales tax. It's a lease tax. What is this about? My business leased a copier from the same company and the same rep. I call him up, he comes over, and I'm like, and he said, you know, they'll pay it. What is that? I'm like, not anymore. The first question any business person asks is your best price, best deal I can get here. Nobody in government ever asks. I ask that. I ask all the time, you know. And it helped. With the things we save $20,000. I'm just on the renegotiating for the lease, we saved $20,000. That's $20,000. Something else. Something else I did. The idea of looking for things. The city council, the way that they got their some loose leaf binders, and every visitation and everything else that was in those binders. They were about a ream of paper each meeting. Council met twice a week and had a study session. So 38 meetings, 12 sheets of paper times 30 books. 7-member council and staff. Well, we do the math, it's 2,000 sheets of paper a year. Somebody's got to buy that paper, copy onto that paper, and collate those books. A lot of time, it's a lot of paper, labor. What I suggested we do, everybody an Apple iPad. I made the Apple Store in Tacoma. We got them for $600 each, and they normally at that time were about $80. Software we needed to do was $20 each. And, you know, of course, we have older people on the council, and they think to do with this. You know, I don't like computers. I don't computers. When one council person was 80 years old, she became this booster of this. You know, I just Saturday. Here's what you got to do. She just got amazed and loved it. Became the biggest supporter of this. But we saved $4. Paper and labor costs. So, I mean, I'm always looking for stuff like that. I am ever like that. I believe technology, we can be on the leading edge, and I've been on the leading edge of my own business. You know, technology offers us a lot. It offers ways to save money. It offers a lot of things for us. And I think to really be cognizant of that, and we need to be minded about using it.
All right, Mr. Capola?
Oh, answer the question about the report.
Okay.
I believe that a monthly report I want to get a monthly from my people. I don't know who more often, but I think monthly is probably a frame because you can track that again. But it's a case, you know, I'm working for you. Tell me what you want, and I'll get you what you want. That's
All right, thank you once again.
First, that's your background in general. Experiences you've had that if you're selected as our city manager.
okay. Well, as a child, that was a joke. I grew up in Fort Worth. I'm an apprentice electrician. Went through the year, went through the whole thing. Was working as a trade. Decided that really didn't see me getting to be 40 to put a 4-inch pipe in the ditch. You know, because I wanted to feel like there had to be a better way. Back to college. Staying in college. And studied administration. From there, went back to the trade for about a year. I needed to make some money, and got an opportunity to go to work in. So I did that, and I didn't see me getting the people 4-inch in the ditch in the ring to live there. So I started my own. I've been in business the whole time. I wrote a political in my newspaper for 20 years. I have no desire to be in politics. But beyond that, you know, I've walked in my shoes. I understand what it is that you're up against with constituents. I understand that my job is to make you guys. So, for what that's worth. But I've been in business. I've been very active. Being on the Economic Development Alliance, we also have the Air Defense Alliance, where we're out for people to big industrial be created. And we're looking for Supply Boeing Corporation. You know, is up there. They're like Navy, you know, they buy millions of stuff, and we want to buy it. So I'm on the committee for that, and that's access to economic development. I started together the board for the Boys and Girls. Good city leaders, and they built a club in our city. So active. I was on the county planning for 8 years. I was sheriff for 12. When what's called the Washington State Urban Act and tells your city's going to grow, I chair the process for our urban growth boundaries. It was a joint county tribal process. The tribes are very active in those communities. So I process. I'm an umpire, baseball umpire. Yeah, I mean, I'm active in my. I do a lot of things.
All right. What is important in its effective working relationship?
I take respect. Something that I in Port Orchard and I would do here is sit down with city employees without their mayor and to say what I need to know, you know. Because, like I said, my philosophy is that people are doing the problem. And I'm not a referee. I mean, I assume you all get it, if you don't, you know. Referee.
Right.
But I just believe if you treat respect, if you respect their ability, everybody in the world knows. You know, I believe if you do with respect, respect their time, that it goes a long way. I think that dealing with people, you just have to be friendly. You have to be honest. That integrity, transparency, a position like this is extremely. You know, when I go to the city, it's just in turmoil. The last mayor had been a manager to the point that insisted that she have just everyone's computers. She would come in on the weekend with her computers. And frankly, that's why the city was in the shape it was, because she wasn't paying to the stuff she was supposed to. But like I said, I sat down with them, went out to the public workshop, you know, met all the guys that work, and the two women there that work side by side with me. And just introduce myself and said the same thing. I need to know. And that went a long way toward a trust with the people that work. You know, the city had 70 employees, and in the time I was there, we turned over. I got arrested. I went to the FBI. You know, we had one guy, you know, our police department to the FBI. One had a personality issue with the boss. She was a clerk in the court and had a personality. She decided to leave. And, you know, that's basically it. So, to not have any turnover period of time is minimal turnover is good. You know. I replaced 3 department heads when I replaced the planning director, public works director, and city clerk, promoted clerk's deputy, and a few other people. At the end, our was reputed, renowned, or whatever the word is, to be the best city bank in our jurisdiction. And they were constantly being, and I think that's the biggest compliment we could get. So I just believe you got to treat people right. Nothing more to it.
Have you had experience in all areas of local government? If you have experience in certain fields, what are they? And how would you approach me in these areas?
Is that in the area that I don't have the question?
Yes, first of all, let me know whether you had experience in all areas of life.
I believe you know, I wrote our was $30.6 million last year, $8.2 million. I wrote that budget, and I trust it. So, I mean, I budgeted. I was in charge of basically of human resources. We had our own police department, fire department, we had our own police, and our own, and I oversaw the growth management, the EEOC, and all the state requirements for ecology, all of the state required for any environmental. So I have a pointed education about, you know, how you run a city. What I'm going to have to get up to speed is where the laws are different than they are in Washington. You know, pretty smart guy, and it won't take me long. Something I have noticed is every budget year, In Washington, our budget year is January, December. Yours looks like September.
It's the year.
Well, is that law or is that just the city?
October, September.
So state law or is that, what is that?
I think it's a state law.
Yeah, because I know in Oregon it's July. So, you know, I'll have to look at the actual process. I know those things. So that's what I have done. So I'm going to have to get up to speed on local regulation, state regulation.
Thank you.
And how will you go about accessing the strength and will of the city and our opportunities to improve?
Well, what I would do is, before, sit down with everybody, doing the work, what the strengths are and weaknesses are. You know, what's called an audit, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And, you know, just through everything we do, figure it out. Look around, tap experience both in the private sector and in government as to what's going on. And the process is an ongoing. Don't just do it once. You know, we look at everything all the time. How can we do this more efficiently? Save money doing this, whatever. But it's an ongoing process. It never stops. I believe that it needs to be business. We need to treat citizens like customers. So, private sector customer service would be something I would make sure that, you know, whether it was some of got their water bill or whatever, you know, we treat them like they're customers. That's what they are. You know, that people doing the work, they'll tell us what we need. You know, they're the ones that know better than any other. And, you know, I'm not afraid to go out there and get dirty, you know, go to the water plant, you know, look around, do whatever's got to be done. I mean, you know, my solution to do it. Think what you're proud to learn.
Thank you.
To what extent we've contacted citizens, neighbors, citizen groups are important, and how typically handle these possibilities?
These are very important. There are. So we want to know what things. We want to know how we can do better job we do as a city for the people. We want to find out how better to listen to them. So, yeah, we're going to do a better job for them, do that job across the board. So, I believe they're very important. Typically handle that. It depends who is. You know, if there's some issue, like, you know, we had an issue with the department at one point. They were giving out over by the high school. A bunch of neighbors came and complained they didn't want. First they came and complained because they did speeding through the neighborhood when they got out of school. And then they came in because the cops were in front of their house. You know, that's the way, you know. And I asked them was, how do you handle this, you know? You tell me. Well, I'm like, well, maybe if we give out enough tickets, I'll be. And I'm like, thanks, fine. You know. It was a case. They came and complained. We told them what they wanted, and then they, you know, they didn't like. So you can't win in those situations, best you can. you listen to what they say. I mean, you have to respect. You have to. You can't just blow them off. It's incumbent upon you as the citizen to be listening. For you to be able to sit down with your constituent. How can I help you? So yeah, important, and the way I is I'm very hands-on. Somebody wants to talk to me, it's always open. And I'll just sit down and listen to say, and who's ever in charge, whichever one of your responsibilities cover their issue is, I'll sit down with you. Hey, John's over here, and he's got this problem, wants to talk about it, and you got time to meet with him, and we're going to sit down. But you just got to think, you got to treat them with respect, and you got to. That's what public service is.
Okay, thank you very much, Cola.
What are your thoughts with performance evaluation? What steps do you follow to set up and monitor performance?
Well, some performance evaluations are helpful. Things have to be done honestly. And just because you don't like it, they're doing a good job, you can't get a deal. I think we've all time to time. I don't mean that to say the city does. I don't know what else in your private lives. In a situation where the future seems abuse or I don't believe in doing that. I believe you have to be very important, very honest about it. The process of setting objectives depends on who it is and what objectives need to be. In public works, it's how can we work on a particular day or how whatever problems we have. Something else. Somebody in the office is like, well, how do we monitor your progress? How do we set? Once we set it, the next time we do an evaluation, how they measured out. Pretty simple process. The way that I set objectives is on what needs to happen and what needs to be done. Their strong points, weaknesses, and just take it from there. I hear the progress of the department head. Has monitored the employees. I sit down with employees, the department head, and make sure that we're all on the page starting out. It's what's expected. Very good stuff, and very know what's expected with me, and I make sure in an evaluation.
Okay, sir. From this point, will lead to be the challenge and opportunities faced by our city. It's likely to change in the future.
The biggest challenges are economic, from the due diligence of the city. The economic development is some priority and needs to be. So I would focus on that. As far as opportunity, I think you have opportunities. It just needs to be promoted. I'm a voter, and I looked at my just like, God, what a great position. And there's 4 votes there. What's that about? These here. Something I know or I didn't find. Maybe one and I just didn't find it. Where's their boat launch? Boat in the water.
Not damage due to the hurricane. Wasn't that right? It's been damaged, am I right? Nobody knows?
The boat launch.
Huh?
There is a boat launch there with them boats, but we have damage from the last hurricane.
And then
on a care of it.
But I think making these put their boat in the water would be a good idea.
But for the last owner, and some of the document taken away. I don't want to say that I know that's what happened, some of that taken away by, prior to the last guy. Well, with that, the hurricane.
To bring all that into perspective, and it's not that we in the Marine, we have an issue with, the only boat we kind of put in there is just small. The big boats can't get because it's supposed to be re-dredged out after, and the Corps project going on to make safer for all the residents. And until they get it, they won't let us do any dredging. Now, we just found out this week, that was the meeting with the commissioner from Homage County, and they said there might be a way we can do it. So we're in the work trying to find out about it, bring that forward, and maybe grant money there to allow us to do it. So we are working on that, and that's our goal. So you're right.
The question was going to be, is there a way around?
There's never a Corps. You've got to get everybody to and work with them, and that's what we've been doing.
I believe that too. I'm a great believer in tapping our officials above our level, to know them staying in good contact all the time. I want to be on everybody's radar that we need to be on.
Now, with that in order, you said about the marine and everything, how is it? I would just like to change it. Do you see any other opportunities?
I need to ask some questions before I can. Do we have industrially zoned available?
Zoning?
There's some areas in the city that is industrial, like,
I mean, a 100-acre parcel that's...
No.
Is there anything that we couldn't put one? We don't have to own it, but somebody else owns it, that we 100 acres of industrial land together? Because that's what companies want, enough land to do.
Correct, and then we move forward, that would be a partnership building, because we do have large landowners here. As you can see, the land is currently being occupied, so we would have to make economics for those individuals that are farming or utilizing the land, whatever purpose they're using it for. Definitely, I see it as an opportunity.
I do too.
Yes.
You know, commercial zones, like you've got Paramount zoning, buildings that are just closed up, so I think we're okay. If we want to attract somebody's job, we have to.
Correct.
I mean, you know, and then we got the permitting process, so they can come here and act. So see those as opportunities. Annexation. Does anybody have on that?
Well, we're in the process of getting land annexed already. And one thing up here, we're in the farming, and most of our land that are around us belong to farmers that they're. So that would be a problem there as far as like until in their mind don't want to sell it, you know, lease it or whatever.
Well, if you can make a business case out, making grown corn or whatever they're growing, you know, here's how much you can make. You know, whether you lease the land or build on a 99-year lease, an income stream, you know, or you just outright. I think if you can do this case and say, you know, here's what you could make. You want it? You know, I think people are motivated by money. So I think if you
Absolutely.
make the financial case to them, it's a good idea. Same thing with, I put together 3 stations in Port Orchard. We annexed 3 major retailers at the areas they were on. One of them being Fred Meyer, which is a chain of lot Walmart's owned by Kroger. And that was knocking on the doors of corporate people and saying, hey, I got a deal for you. Here's why you're in the city. And so when we got done, we had $1.3 million city treasury, officers. That includes cops and sewer and water and everything. So it was a profit-making enterprise for the city. Can't make a profit in government, but can't. That's what we were doing. But in the case of me knocking on their door, like I said, I'm not afraid to do that.
Thank you.
What particular experience do you have with respect to budget preparation and finance? Give specific examples of how you address cost reduction in your most recent position.
Okay, well, I think I answered this earlier. I wrote the budget and I looked at cost reductions, going through it item by item. We spend money on, can we spend? How much should we spend there? And what are we paid to spend in this year and why? I would sit down with my department, hey, okay, give me your budget. I want 3 versions. I want a beer version. I want what approximates what you're doing, what you foresee, and I want your wish list. Let's see how much money we got and where. But then I went to department heads and we could cut it up, or I shouldn't say cut it up, I should say. And we came to what. And then I would sit down with the finance committee, and I'd go through the budget with the finance committee, writing down all that. And then the finance committee again. And then I have to go back to give them the bad news, but I made a blame it on it. But it really, that's the process. Wrote it, and cost reduction is an ongoing, it's all the time. I will save money on that. What that we did, the state has a contract for buying stuff, buying all kinds of stuff. And I put a buy local program to where it says, we want the city to buy inside the city because we're part of our sales tax, right? And we're going to pay sales tax. Let's get some of it back. And like we bought 3 cars. And I took the state contract to the Ford dealer over there. You can beat this by $1, we'll buy it. He said, okay. Deal. So we bought these cars, bought them in the city. So we got the part of the sales that we paid, our dealer. He got 2 cars. And we did everything that we did. They've got to be competitive for sure, but it was just another money. I'm always looking for stuff. My mind goes, I got about 23 anyway.
Okay. Mr. Polo, how do you review the relationship between the manager and the city commission? How do you view your relationship with the head and local government?
Well, I work. That goes without saying. The relationship is based on mutual respect. Will tell you about everything. I will not overstuff. I will not want to hear. I'll tell you the truth. That's part of my personality. You may not like it, at least you'll know what's the story. And I'm great that if I'm going to have bad news, I'll have it sooner rather than later. The you get it, the more options you have. But you know, I view our relationship as a gift. So tell me what you need. Tell me what. My job is to very behind the scenes make you guys look good, make you look good to the city, make you look good to other officials. You know, we want them to have places getting stuff done. You know, my job is to A, get it done, and B, that you guys get credit for. As far as my relationships with department heads and staff, I think it's respectful. I'm their boss. And, you know, I'm not going to get along with. I demand honesty, and that they tell me if there's bad news sooner or later. I can deal with things that I deal with. I just believe that the sooner you know, the more options you fix it. And that's just the way. The relationships have to be respect. They can't be based on us. And they have to be based on integrity. You know, if you do it with integrity, you do it openly, transparency, do it honestly, with good humor. That go on fine. I have managed my entire working life, and I can hand how many people I've ever had. You know, the people work for me well. I think it's just because of the way that I treat them, their knowledge and their abilities. And I what experience you've had in the past, but people that work for me to work for me. They work hard. They know what the expectation. I believe people want to be led. And I believe if I'm a good leader, they're going to follow willingly. Not, you know, I got to do it because he said so. It's, you know, we're all pulling in the same net. I make sure that people's goals are. And sit down with people and say, you know, here's where we want to go. Here's how we're going to get. That's part of transparency. You let them know. You tell them what you expect. You tell them you're going to get to where you go, and they'll follow. You ask for their income. You see them here. I mean, if you tell me, and sometimes they do. They do, and you got to respect. Respond to it. You got to. Nobody has good ideas. And again, it comes down to people doing the work. Everybody read along.
Thank you.
What will your first steps be assuming responsibility position? What do you hope to accomplish in your first?
Well, the first thing would be I find out where it wants.
The water, huh?
Do sit down first thing. Sit down with the staff. That'd be take a tour of the city, confirm what we have, where it is. You know, just hands-on about things. I want to know what we're doing. I want to know how we're doing it. I'll go out. I'll ask questions. I'll make sure that I introduce myself to all of our elected officials at the county and let them help us. I'll make sure. Whereas what I want to accomplish in here, would like to have a positive in the realm of economic development. It would be, somebody moves here or create new jobs for existing. It's something that's measurable. But economic development would be the priority. I mean, that's what I'm getting from listening and reading these questions. So I would want to have some in that area. That would be my first thing. I'm thinking a lot about this economic development. And question?
Oh, sure.
Okay, this big football game.
Muckball.
How many people?
It's a good question. I think we have to gauge on the number.
Ballpark.
Yeah, 8,000.
Well, we want is give a reason to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's where we should start for economic. But I think about sports tourism. Something that we did together, great soccer. Is soccer big here in the Northwest?
It's growing, but it's not that big.
What?
It's growing. It's starting to pick up, but it's not that much.
Yeah, see, it's huge. I mean, my boy plays soccer, and he's the best of them. But he plays soccer, and we travel all the time. Places for soccer games. I mean, we went down and tried a 5-hour drive each way. Rather than drive 10 hours, for him to play a game. Hotel room. We ate in a restaurant. We're just one. They had a tournament there every year. 1,000 people came to town and watched a kid play soccer for a hotel, went out. I think tourism has a lot of potential.
It's surprising you the sports tourism economic development. What we do have in Pahokee and the Gladen, a lot of professional athletes have here, and if we kind of get their once they retire, doing their
career.
football
stadium.
He was raised here. He still provide programs for this community. But the number of athletes, if you take older, and if even 1 or 2 opening up businesses here, it would be this economy. But been able to bridge, that gap.
We've been working on the same thing. TLC Hockey. Their stadiums are downtown, and most of them over on the east side stay on the side of Lake Washington. And traffic is horrendous. I noticed you don't have much of traffic. We have the ferries also. Commute to where we are in less time than you can drive over to the east side and pitching the athletes on that, and we've been successful. We had 2 guys that played for the Mariners, grew up in Fort Worth. Willie Bloomquist, Billy Infielder, and a guy named Sean Spencer. He's a pitcher. They grew up there, and they still have influence. Willie played for the Kansas City Rolling Point, and he got them $100,000 started. That's where I umpire. They put a little thing up there, but I'd be looking to try the thing. If you guys are on board for some, I think that's great.
Miss I, the past, we've been sick, got all vision. They told us we had the blessings of the county commissioner. We've been working 2 years. We couldn't get the blessing. And I don't know if anybody here remembered it or not, but we brought back the packets and all what we were going through. It wasn't that we haven't tried it.
Okay.
But this was one of the things that we couldn't talk about it. Because we didn't have nothing concrete until we got the blessings of the county commissioners. Didn't get that.
Well, what's this?
Oh, well, it was, we're beyond that now. But we're beyond that. I think that it can be worked now. We can do
Well, I think it's great that you guys represent.
it.
But anyway, just one idea that I have about that. You know, I was reading up all I was thinking about, you know, like I said, it's huge where we are, and generates a ton of revenue. Alternatives do the same thing.
I actually had to lead a meeting when they had the foundation was coming.
Cool. You know, my grandson is like a sports fanatic, and he knows who he is.
He has quite a few notes.
Oh, he's got a couple of thousand without exaggerating on football card. He got Antoine Golden, the pack of cards in. Ah, look at this! But when I saw it, kind of like, I can't wait to
We have
in fact, I took a picture.
Yeah, we have a great, he puts on festival every year. So welcome to come back and visit us. We don't select you for the city manager. We invite you to come back and spectacle of the Pew.
Okay.
Yes. Any, thank you very much, Mr. Capone, for on that question.
Okay. Question? How was your experience qualifying for this position?
Well, as I was starting out, I think my both in government and private gives me a leg up on other people. You know, one thing that lifetime government managers, they don't understand the private, they don't understand how it works. And when we see the financial pitfall, and I get that. You know, and I see it really because I'm always looking. I'm a very strong. I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind. I am able to people, and I just I have everything that you and then some. I don't laugh at I don't mean to come across as, but and if I do, I apologize. I just know. I was looking for a job. It was like researching cities. It was like, this was the place to be. Because this is that I skills to that about. I mean, I invested $1,000 of my own to come here to be here because I believe that much. When I get done with airlines and hotels and stuff, I believe that I am the guy for this job. And put my money where my mouth is.
We should do that too, Lisa. I think
Okay, thank you.
If you were asked by our commission staff or to do something unethical, how would you handle it?
Say, are you kidding me? I'm not going to do what?
Just one time.
You know better. I would treat it with respect and humor. I would say no. Start going down that road, there's no going back.
Thank you.
what have you found to be most successful in assisting government officials establishing and implementing long and short goals for the community.
I think you have to articulate, you have to set the goal, you have to be clear about what it is, and you have to know the outcome. Start from there, and articulate it to the community. You've got to sell it, you've got to make sure that people stand the benefit. It's feature. That's what you have to sell, and you have to sell it. I mean, that's the bottom line of it. You got to be able. The goals have to be realistic. They have to be achievable, and to get everybody behind you to get everybody on the same page when you're doing this, and what the benefits are. So basically, sales 101. That's kind of how I look at it.
Thank you.
What experience have you working on an governmental agency basis? Have you worked directly with the federal government, the Michigan government, when doing it on local?
I have a lot of with that because before I got into it, like I said, I wrote policy for 20 years. We knew everybody, and I'm not afraid to call them up and say, hey, I got our city $700 to rebuild the pier that we, by talking to my congressman, and by to our state representative, who's now our congressman. We were real fortunate. At one point, we had a powerful congressman in the House on the appropriations, and a really well relationship with him. His name was Chris. And he was on military appropriations, like majorly important articles. But I could call him up. I had his cell phone number. I could call him Norm, and he'd do this. And he always came through. And that we have now, his name is Derek. He just got on the appropriations committee. He wrote me a recommendation for this position and talked about how he can work on economic development. In his real life, before he got into politics, became a full-time job for the Economic Development District. So, and one who actually gave lead on the boatyard. The yacht builder guy. So, but on the other hand, the previous had some paperwork fall down and didn't get it submitted in time. They were supposed to pay the state highway that was submitted. And fell off the project list. They did for it. And I called him up and say, hey, can you help? And he got it done. The department transferred about half the first their budget, but
Our manager, it was a strong mayor, our manager. The previous, you said previous manager.
wait, it's a strong mayor form of government, and the elected mayor is basically the city. She assumed that people's computers to pay attention to the paper. Anyway, I had that kind of relationship where I got people well. Same thing with our counties. We were the county seat. County courthouse just up the street. And, I spent a lot of time in it. I need to be knocking on their doors, being in there, seeing them and talking to them. I want to be in there all the time because they can help. That's my job. I served on boards with all of these people, county commissioners and our other elected officials. And I did be chair of most of those boards at some point. And it wasn't a rotating thing. They got to elected. But I ran the housing authority. The housing authority was 40 million in debt. And one of the things put together a bailout plan. And then I chaired the finance committee the year after I was chair of that board. And made sure the track and, just backfilled the new house. That was something I had a question. I assume there's a over here.
Yeah, I'm waiting on. Actually, that popped up about housing. You may have some.
Does the housing authority build like the housing?
The current authority doesn't have retirement facilities currently. They're just facilities, but we've had one or two gentlemen who are about building housing for our elderly.
Because I'm thinking, that's a huge business, right? And I'm wondering if talking to some of the companies that do retirement communities about building. And, not all retirees, a lot of retirees. I think retirees in West Palm Beach, have, just started retirement, make this kind of a retirement. It's cheaper to live here than live in West Palm. Just, approach it from that standpoint. Try to see if we can, again, we get permitting done, land to build on, and there's an opportunity for you. Maybe something there. You don't ask. You got to be able to make business. But if you've got the permitting, if you've got the land, got the wherewithal for them to do it, I think that there's no reason to not talk to them. First thing that happens is they say no, but if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
All right, Miss, you down there.
Yes.
All right. You talked about it earlier about the style. You called it open and but direct. Can you elaborate?
Yeah. The door's always open. And I'll talk to has a question, whether it's a department or staff member. I'm always accessible. There's no about that, and here's what I expect. There's no fudging about it at all. Nobody's going to have questions expected of them. But you have to tell them. You have to tell them why you're going there, tell them how you're going to get there, and insist that they do. And that's working. Like I said, it's all about the people doing the work. They're closer to the problems. I want them to be able to, if there is a problem, they come. If we can head off problems, become bigger problems, all for it. Just deal with them. You got to deal with them. You got to respect their time. You got to respect their ability. You got to respect their experience. And if you treat them right, they'll work hard for you. Earlier, people want to be led, and if you effectively and you respect, they'll follow. So, it's something that's worked well for me. In my own business, employees are 10 years. So I think that says a lot about who they work for and what style it's like.
Thank you very much once again.
Okay, last question. If you are selected beyond this interview, forward in the process and to do an extension check, is there anything we should be aware of?
Yeah. Oh, you want to know what it is? 5 years ago, I got I pleaded to negligent driving. Couldn't really put me behind the car. I am not a drinker, and there's a law to story that goes with it. I'm not gonna tell it to you. I don't make any excuse. I did it. It was bad. Alcohol makes you make them. So that's it. My wife and I were victims of identity theft. Yeah. So report, you're going to find a lot of collections on it that don't belong. But you know, that being, and irony of managing a multi-million-dollar budget. Appears you can't manage your own money. It's on me. So, but I'll just tell you that straight out. So there's that. But if you know, my credit card change, fine, pay my bill on time. Talking to the credit bureau, the total rate of everybody's. I mean, I have literally years trying to, and you know, I have an issue with America. Somebody got a credit card with America in my name, didn't pay for it, and about every year and a half, I'm a collection agency. It shows up on my credit report. So it looks like I've got, you know, collections from America when it's actually, or collection agencies when it's actually one for a credit card I never had. So, you know. And the thing involves my degree. Extent of my original, and I dealt with this. The college that I went to, Dane College in Blair, closed about 5. All of the records were slowly moved to the university, but not all of them made it there. Dane is 126 years old. So I have asked the university to please find my record, so I can. If you go to find it, you're not going to find me at all. They are looking for it. I kind of feel like I am the person that is important to from talking to them, but I've had half a dozen talks with them. So those are the 3 things you're going to find.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, Google me the DUI thing because the newspaper reporter thought she was going to surprise reporting that story. But those are the things that I can tell you about myself. Go find something.
All right, that's it. Formal. Here, and
Okay.
do you have any questions of the commission? Talked a little bit during the interview.
Yeah, I had a pretty good list of questions actually, and I had them in a tablet folder that I left on.
Wow.
Anyway, so I remember them off the top of my head. Where is it you guys want the city to go? I mean, what are your goals? Strategic plan?
Yes, we do have a strategic place. Just thinking back on Lane, of course, you're hitting everything on the head. Economic development. That economic development plan so that we're not only focusing on infrastructure projects and things of that nature. We want to make focusing on our local policy to make sure that they're benefiting things that we are planning here within the city.
Yeah.
So, and we're trying our stick to that plan, but we need some guidance as we get back to the plan.
How old is the plan?
We just did a plan from the commission last year. Yeah.
Okay. In that budget, and I hate to bring this up, but the cemetery be a drain on resources. Is that from reading it wrong?
Mr. Woods actually are.
Because I saw a transfer in of like $1,000.
That was in the budget last year, but we never transferred. In this past year, we had a revenue over expenditures. It was pretty good.
budget, so that's why I'm asking a question.
In the past, so this has what we had looked at first year. Possibility, explore all possibilities of leasing it, whatever it takes to minimize the deficit. But as they were saying, they have paid a lot better the strain at one point.
Okay. And to reflect negatively on you. I saw the number and felt like I should ask the question. What do you guys see as economic development ability?
Nick touched, once again, and I think this is a consensus from the commission that it is that diamond in the rough, so to speak. We also want to look into creating industrial zones, enterprise zones, things of tourism is on our with folks talking about hotels and things of that nature, visuals to stay within limits. Hopefully that would generate the food industry, with exactly. Other things, tourism is definitely on the radar. Sports tourism, eco-tourism, tourism is high.
Okay, I know Facebook page, but there's nothing on it.
Officially on Facebook page. Correct.
We've been looking at that.
I mean, social media is huge for you.
Correct.
And, because I this we have a social media plan. I have 1,800 Facebook. That's one good thing about being a second official. You get to know a lot of people. But if the city had one, and do you all personally have pages?
No,
Just go down to your friends, like photo, like the page of photo. And if I go mine and you did that all yours, and ask them to ask them, suddenly we'll get a bunch of people. We'll get the word out a little bit. Come up with tourism, a slogan. But for economic development, the question we want to ask is why not vote? Why not? I think we want to approach with that kind of. Okay, other questions? Do you all have a vision of where the city 5 years from now? Of the plan.
5 years from now, for my beach commissioner can share their perspective. 5 years from now, see of course, working with the Army Corps of Engineers, the county, is to start what you spoke about earlier, the marina itself. The boat is to try to develop, create, we call cruises to know ways to go out into the lake, and that hotel is vitally important. We don't have a hotel here within our community. Housing is very key in this community. We have a lot of issues with housing. A lot of professionals who are coming in housing authority or areas and things of that nature. Housing initiatives is very, very. We have a school here, professionals who are driving into it. Some of them would love to community, but housing is for them. So we have an opportunity within 5 years, real meaningful development here. Put our heads together and make it.
Okay, I noticed you have an RFP for somebody. Are they rewriting the bill? Is that what that was about?
I don't know.
That's for code enforcement.
Yeah.
Code enforcement.
Code enforcement.
Is that what it was?
In the marina.
I have some with the National Association, and I was thinking I could leverage those about getting some builders to come over here and talk about. We could get a production builder to come in here, the housing stock pretty quickly. You know, they have we are quasi development. It was owned by Weyerhaeuser, but new house every 52 days. And they build about 500 homes. And they're self-rated. You get to pick your colors, do everything, do whatever you're doing. Builders like that in the county. I think what we need to do is that there's A, a market here, and B, that we have infrastructure for it. But anyway, so Ms. Hill?
Oh, God. Employment, we just need to work on it. We have many more employees. Can't focus on that. So under that umbrella, a whole host of things. And not right, we have some things in place. But I just rather just see more of it.
What?
Economic development already businesses in order to create jobs and housing for people that are coming into the communities or that's living in that are like some teachers. We have people that would like to move here with housing for them, so housing, jobs, and business would be at the top of my radar.
Yeah, much similar economic development is made. We want to create jobs by high unemployed, hotel, improve infrastructure of our community. And since you got it's just like athletics, football. You're coming in. We haven't been to a playoff. We want to win the Super Bowl. We actually need to turn this city and make us a champ.
Here we go.
Pretty much have the same.
Yeah, kind of that way.
I follow my fellow commissioners, but I had a question in mind.
Okay.
Now, my goal and dream is if we can ever get that here that we can escort. She and I have been working on for a long time. That would be the thing. I know that would bring money to you, but and I'm not without because I know it will happen. But that's one of the main. I know the marinas and everybody talks about it all that. We and this economic development come through nationwide, world, because after from everywhere and people love events. So I'm just sure I know that will happen. But my concern right now too, keyword responses. First was we've got on State Market Road. I don't know what we were trying to want to build homes out there. It was through. Out of that right now, the city itself only 7 acres out of what road? Yeah, but as far as more land, the housing had a whole year to be destroyed. Okay, it's never been rebuilt. That can bring in homes. That's about possibilities. And
it's already in place there, isn't it?
It's already there. The question is, what we numerous public houses that doesn't bring in any ad valorem taxes or money to your dealings from Washington all down idea. You're able to find out any way that we as a city can benefit from these authorities. I mean, the people want to be in, but it's expensive to the city can't have on their end. And then they're unable to vote within the city because they're out of the city limits. And so, we're poor because I'm like door to door trying to get people to say they want to be into the city. Came down to who? The head people, the shopmen, will charge too much money. We are all afford to pay what. So with that in mind, most of our people, the projects, so I'm finding out from you, do you have any expertise on it? There could be something that we can get this from those areas that would benefit the city.
Well, I hear you saying that there's people that want to live here.
Oh, they live here, but they're not per se in the city.
Yeah, I understand that. But I want to be sure that I understand. Is there a way that we can get people into the city that become productive taxpayers?
Thing is, if next time we already would be that as of this day, we're not receiving funds from those areas. And they want to be annexed, that's part of the problem. I don't want to be annexed. But on the same token, how can we as a city be able to benefit from being annexed?
Well, if it's a housing project, probably not.
You know, that's
You know, but when I was talking about, I was hearing you all saying that professionals that are commuting city, and you know, if we have land that has infrastructure placed in city limits that would attract a builder to come on, we can get those people to live here, and we get them to live, spend their money here.
That doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the housing authority. Stuck is, that doesn't belong to us.
Would the authority sell it to
They're actually owned by, I spoke with Julia Hill a couple and HUD was one of it. Stuckey is one of the partners of it.
Well, sorry, that's why I said housing authority.
Yeah. We can say authority because HUD authority is ran by HUD.
That was on the question. I didn't. Things that changed out these years. We haven't been able to benefit.
See, I was thinking about commercial areas that we, because they're the most dollar ones there. So that's what I'm about.
City a lot of property, but they're referring to it as confirming usage.
Not large enough.
But there's some discussion about if encourage people to go that are out, you know, it may be an opportunity for them to develop, but you know, that's on how cost is taken.
That's a big buzzword where we are. Prevent urban. And what the problem is, this is my view anyway. That you pack them and stack them. Problem that you didn't have. People, I don't necessarily want to live in close proximity of their stock. That's a concern for people. And that's been the big thing, why people. But, you know, political issue. The decision that you guys made, then follow the meeting here today. Have to like everything or agree with it, get nothing. And I totally get them. You know, I've been down that road. Another question. What do you do in real life?
Retired transportation coordinator for 33 years. And do have a little with Democratic Yeah, let's go. What's my job, pay job?
Coordinator for her.
Papa School District.
Oh, okay.
I'm a supervisor in Palm Beach County in senior services. Been for 30 years. It's from Lake Harbor all the way to Tacoma.
Oh, so you'd be the county commissioners? Let's say you'd be the guy who do county commissioners.
It's possible. My bosses, so I got to be real.
From,
Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office.
I'm sorry?
County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, okay. All right. Were you the sheriff's deputy?
No, I was a super. I did the data entry. Unfortunately, I was a take out book people to the jail. Profit, I was a state representative. I worked for the city of Hope. So my years accumulated. And the school district. So I've had 4 jobs.
Mayor?
I currently work for a family who is the administrator for child care. I'm the development person for Family Central.
I'm an educator, and I own businesses, so mental level entrepreneurship, very big.
Okay. Here, from all different walks of life, it's interesting to hear what they did because that's the filter that they use for information, for bringing it back to me. So, just let me ask him. When are you looking for somebody?
Process we're looking for someone. Of course, we've been without a city man for 6, 7 months. Time is flying. Yeah. 4 months. 4 months. Oh yeah. 4 months. Flying. Yeah. It's meantime. Yeah. So looking for someone. As a commission, we have a deadline though as to when we make a decision. So we went to that decision, and hopefully within a year or so or 2 to make that final decision.
And why did the last one?
There's differences in the commission, and the commission made it to release the city manager.
That happens. I think questions I have.
So once again, Mr. Capone, very much for having an interest in our small.
Well, come back here.
All right.
And like I said earlier, this is my job. This job was made for me.
Oh.
Well, top 3 of that decision very different. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're in the pleasure of just choosing. We can't lose either.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Wish you
Let
luck.
me start.
All right.
That's all I can say.
So-
Thank you.